Well, you hate to see tax dollars just being burnt up, and that's what's going on here in Kansas City after the city is set to pay $850,000 to a firefighter who says he did not get a promotion because he's white. Now, I will say I appreciate lawsuits like this coming to fruition. I hate that it has to come at the expense of the taxpayer, but I hope that people in power who are all about the woke DEI nonsense are learning an important lesson. And I hope that the city will also make sure that they put people in power who are not picking people for jobs based on their race or not picking people for jobs based on their race. That's important as well. So the story here from the Kansas City Star, retired Kansas City Fire Department Battalion Chief is set to receive an $850,000 settlement for dropping a lawsuit that claims he was denied a promotion due to his race and gender. Daniel McGrath, who is white and retired in January, alleges that he was passed over because, well, he's a white dude. Welcome to corporate America in 2024. Now, I do think some of this has fallen by the wayside. I think the stupidity of all this stuff is starting to swing the pendulum back to the middle, hopefully, where we, do things based on merit. Meritocracy is a great way to hire people. It's a great way to fire people. It's a great way to promote people. Not, well, I got too many white guys or I got too many Asians at Harvard, so, we can't have this. No, just live in a world based on merit and things will work themselves out. So Daniel McGrath, according to the story here, did not get a job because, well, he's a white guy. And former fire chief Donna Lake gave the deputy chief's job that McGrath was seeking back in 2022 to a black fire captain, who McGrath alleges was less qualified. The lawsuit claims that Lake signaled her intentions to pass over McGrath and others for promotion when she allegedly told a top subordinate that, quote, the days of the fire department being ran by older white men are over. For what it's worth, Donna Lake is a white woman. And as far as I know, she's still identifying as a white woman. That's probably important to note since, these days you never know who's what and what they are in a given day. But she is a white woman and was a white woman when she ran the Kansas City Fire Department. So, as they note here in the Kansas City Star, during her tenure, the Star published an investigation series of different articles documenting how women and black firefighters had for decades been victims of discrimination within the fire department. So here's the thing, and this is where two things can be true at the same time. One, the fire department in Kansas City, Missouri, may have been discriminatory at one point in time towards women and people of color. But that does not justify in 2022 or 2023 or 2024 passing over somebody and explicitly not giving somebody a job because they are a white male. It is possible for both of those things to be true, and frankly, it should be common sense for both of those things to be true. We can live in a world where we admit mistakes were made and people were at one point overlooked for jobs, unfairly treated because of race and gender. But we should not try to make up for it by now mistreating other people because of their race and their gender. That's not how this should work. And that, to me, is very much a common sense take, where now we have to live in a world that is truly driven by merit. Unfortunately, we largely don't live in that world. When it comes to politics, when it comes to working your way up maybe a corporate America ladder. I mean, I know jobs, I know businesses that say if you recommend somebody for a job, you'll get more money if you recommend that person and they're not white. Like, you'll get a bigger payout for that if you recommend somebody for a job at a certain company, which is insane. But it's the world that the DEI crowd has created in America. Certain races are worth more money to businesses because they view us based on our race and our gender, despite the fact that two people who are white can have very different backgrounds in life. Look at Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Donald Trump, kid who grows up in the house of a successful developer in Queens, New York, and then becomes a billionaire developer in New York City himself. J.D. Vance grows up in poverty in the hills of Appalachia, works his way through school, serves the nation, goes back to Ohio State, graduates in a couple of years, and ends up at Yale. And now, of course, he's the incoming vice president of the United States. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are both white. They could not have had different life experiences if they tried. Now, that's also true about Donald Trump and, let's say, Tim Scott, U.S. Senator from South Carolina, who grew up the grandson of those who were picking crops, right? That's a different story as well. But it's not just because of their race. White people and black people and Asian people and Latino people can all have very diverse backgrounds. And the race is not what makes them different. So from Kansas City's perspective, I mean, I hate that your tax dollars are getting wasted on these payouts. I hate it. But at the same time, can I blame anybody for bringing this lawsuit? No, I can't. Because this stuff has to stop. And the only thing that motivates, unfortunately, people in large part is money. And maybe this will get City Hall, maybe this will get the fire department at large to realize that picking and choosing people for jobs based on their race is no way to run a business. It's no way to run the fire department, the police department. It's frankly no way to run anything at City Hall. And the mistake here appears to be that the former fire chief was actually dumb enough to say the quiet part out loud. Because there's really no way to prove this stuff. But if you had the former fire chief being dumb enough to say that we're done with the fire department being run by old white guys, well, then, you know what? You deserve what you get. Unfortunately for Donna Lake, she is no longer the fire chief, so she's able to just kind of laugh her way to the bank. She's now, I think she's got a job in Jackson County or Lee Summit or something like that, last I recall, when she left the Kansas City, Missouri Fire Department. Yeah, she's out. Yes. She is now the assistant city manager for the city of Lee Summit. Well, that must be nice. You know, you just bounce around all these government jobs. You keep collecting different pensions all over the place. It's a pretty sweet gig when you think about it. Go from one government job, get the pension, bounce to another one, maybe get a pension there, and around you go. You get those government benefits. Man, it is pretty good living on that government high hog. It really is pretty nice. So anyway, this is a story that doesn't end with the $700,000 or $850,000 payout. There are two other related payouts. Mark Little and Christopher McDaniel were paid $350,000 each for similar settlements. The city settled two related lawsuits in August that were filed by white battalion chiefs who claimed that they, too, were passed over for the same deputy chief position. So the combined total payouts to settle litigation on the single hiring dispute is going to total $1.5 million if the city council approves McGrath's settlement, which is expected next week. The city's law department and risk management committee recommended approval of this settlement. So the city's basically saying, yeah, we're screwed here. We got to pay this deal out. And hopefully the city then starts talking to the people in charge who hire people for a living and just say, hire the best people. I don't care what color they are. Hire the best damn people for the job. Okay, stop trying to look like an LL Bean commercial or something where I've got to have one black guy and one white guy and an Asian guy and a biracial guy. Just hire people based on their merit. Please. That's what this message should be from the city of Kansas City. I don't think it will be, because I don't think they've learned their lesson if I was just spitballing here based on the people in charge. But it would be nice, wouldn't it, to just go back to a world like that? I think we're getting there. I do. I think November 5th was a wake-up for a lot of people in DEI woke corporate America and in places like, big bureaucracies like Kansas City, Missouri. But it might take a little more time. I just hope those days have come and gone. I do think the pendulum is starting to swing back. I do. It's been a long few years on that front, but I think the pendulum is starting to swing back. Now, speaking of this actually ties in to my very next story here. A former Kansas City Chiefs coach who we were told could not get a gig because of his skin color. Some of you will know where I'm going with this. He just got fired as an assistant coach at the college ranks. So maybe it wasn't about race. Boy, I remember when former Chiefs assistant coach Eric Bieniemy wasn't getting NFL jobs, and everyone said it was because the NFL was racist, and the owners are racist, and everybody's racist, and Eric Bieniemy should be a head coach in the NFL because, well, he was the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs, and they were on this historic run, and boy, how could you not hire this guy to be your head coach at the NFL level? Well, Eric Bieniemy was just fired as the offensive coordinator of UCLA. Yeah, the UCLA Bruins, of course, college football program, they just blew him out because the offense absolutely stunk. UCLA's offense ranked 117th in the nation during Bieniemy's only season. Yeah. Oh, and last year, when he was the OC of the Washington Commanders, formerly Redskins, they won 4 games during his season as offensive coordinator in 2023. So it's amazing. It's almost like, well, Patrick Mahomes and formerly Tyreek Hill and all those guys had something to do with Eric Bieniemy appearing to be a decent offensive coordinator. But then when he gets away from Patrick Mahomes and he gets away from Travis Kelce and he no longer has Tyreek Hill, I guess he wasn't all that good, was he, in hindsight?
I think he's still a good running backs coach.
Yeah, he might be a great running backs coach. It doesn't mean he's a head coach. And it doesn't mean he wasn't getting head coaching opportunities because he was a black man. Which, if you watched any ESPN over the last couple of years, and not that I did, but I would see the clips, you would get nonsense like this from Mina Kimes. Is that her name, Mark? Is that how you pronounce it? Nina Kimes?
Mina Kimes.
Kimes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. See, shows you how much I watch ESPN. I just see her woke stuff on social media all the time. Here she was almost 2 years ago complaining that Eric Bieniemy wasn't getting a head coaching job, and it's because the NFL was secretly racist.
Mina, 5 head coaches hired, only one of them black. That's D'Amico Ryans. What does that say about the situation in the league with the lack of diversity at these coaching positions?
You know, that it's a massive problem and doesn't appear to be getting any better. I mean, we've been doing NFL Live together for a few years now, and every offseason we seem to be having the same conversation. The prevailing sentiment I encounter in conversations with black coaches at all levels is feeling discouraged. So while we talk about Bieniemy, we should talk about him because he is a glaring example here. He is the face of a much larger and insidious problem in the NFL.
All right, there you go. A larger, insidious problem in the NFL. The entire NFL media tried to tell you that Eric Bieniemy was not getting a head coaching job because of racism. And UCLA just fired him for stinking as a college offensive coordinator. Please make that make sense. Once again, the wokest of the woke are turning out to look like absolute fools. It's taken some time for all this to happen, but it's finally happening, John, in many walks of life.
I was just spitballing the math when I heard that. So 1 in 5 coaches, that would be approximately the U.S. population's percentage, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
Yes. I think 15% is the official number. So,
is it?
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah, you're right. That's a good
I sometimes
point.
confuse national and our local number.
Yes.
They're similar, but yeah.
Good point.
So, see, and right there, we do have, mathematically speaking.
Yes, we do. So, you've got now Eric Bieniemy looking for another job. Will Mina Kimes, is that how you say it, Mark?
Yep. Yeah. That's
okay.
Right.
I got it right this time around. Will Mina Kimes be going on ESPN today and talking about how UCLA is racist? Like, it doesn't get more woke than UCLA. Trust me. UCLA is all about the wokeness. Remember the protests on their campus from last spring when they had the Hamas simps all over the place doing their sit-ins and they had their tents and it took them like days to finally clear the place out? And it happened early in the morning one day at like 4 a.m. at UCLA there in Berkeley, California, and they finally said, yeah, these people have to go. And it was a big deal out there when it finally happened. There is not a more woke institution than UCLA. They are right up there with the Harvards of the world and the Yales of the world and the Ivy Leagues. And guess what? They fired the guy because, well, the offense stunk. Not because he was a black man. I don't know why they hired him, but they fired him because the offense wasn't any good. And maybe that's what was known in NFL circles. And don't forget, too, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but it was long known that during that run, Andy was calling the bulk of the plays for that offense anyway, right? I mean, you would see it on the sidelines during the game.
Yeah, I believe Andy calls the plays, and then whoever the offensive coordinator relays the plays to Mahomes.
Oh.
So that's they have a little operation there.
Do they still do that with Nagy, do you know?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Sounds like you might want to cut out the middle, but hey, it's working. I'm not here to judge, okay? 2 Super Bowls in a row. I'm just all about cutting out the fat in any operation. So
Doge.
Yeah. Can we get Elon on this? Where's Doge when you need him? Cut out the fat, cut out the middleman. But whatever, it's fine. It's working so well. Why stop it? Although this year, it's debatable how well it's working, but neither here nor there. The NFL knew that. It wasn't anything against Eric Bieniemy. It wasn't because of his skin color. That's never what it was about. There were reasons that people didn't think Eric Bieniemy was head coaching material. And I'm not in the meetings, and I don't know what they were. But the notion that secretly the NFL owners didn't want to hire the offensive coordinator of what was then the hottest offense in the NFL by a mile because he was a black man was always insane. But sports media tried to convince you of that because deep down what they want to do is pursue the narrative that America is still a very racist nation. It's not. And guess what? If America was more like sports, we'd be all better off. Sports remains the last meritocracy in America, where you truly get jobs based on whether or not you can do the gig. That's it. That's the only thing that matters in professional sports, unless you're Bronny James, but that's a different story. And if we represented as a nation in corporate America, small businesses, anywhere else, if we represented our companies the way that pro sports teams do, America would be, frankly, a more equitable place because we would be rewarding people based on merit. Sports has it right. The rest of us have it wrong. And the more we mirror sports, the better off we're all going to be.